Okay, so now let's have a look at example 2. So example 2, again, the verb is to simplify. So we want to simplify part A, x plus 3 over 2 plus... No, I don't want plus, let's do minus. Let's do minus. Minus x minus 2 over 5. Only because a lot more common mistakes are made when you subtract fractions. And I'll show you what it means. So again, check the denominator first. Are they the same? If not, then if they're not the same denominator, then what can we do to make them the same? So the lowest common denominator between 2 and 5 is 10. So I'm going to multiply by 5, top and bottom. Now be careful. So previously we just times 2, top and bottom on the previous example. But for here, because we've got 2 or more terms on the top, we've got 2 terms on top, so every time you have 2 or more terms and you're multiplying, you always have to put brackets around them because you're multiplying the whole thing by your number 5, okay? So again, that's a very important bracket trick, the bracket point. On the second fraction, we want the lowest common denominator of 10, so I'm going to multiply by 2, but because on the top I've got 2 terms, every time you're multiplying by something which has 2 or more terms, you must always put brackets around them. So you're multiplying by the whole thing, okay? So if you expand the top bracket or you multiply out the whole bracket, it is essentially you get 5 outside of x plus 3 over 10. And then take away 2 outside of x minus 2 over 10. Now, because you have the same denominator, you can put it over the same denominator. So it's 5x plus 3 minus 2 lots of x minus 2 all over 10. And then you just expand your brackets. So you get 5x plus 15 minus 2x. Be careful. Minus 2 times minus 2 gives you a positive 4 all over 10. Then you gather your like terms on the top. So 5 minus 2x is 3x. 15 plus 4 is a plus 19 all over 10. And then do a check. Can I factorize anything? Can I simplify anything? No. That's it. That's your final answer. So the first key point from this example is, yes, yes, you want a lowest common denominator when you're adding and subtracting fractions. And then next thing is, if what you have is 2 or more terms, you must always put brackets around them because you're multiplying by the whole thing. And then once you have the common denominator, you can put it over the same denominator, and then make sure you expand your brackets. Again, negative gives you a positive number there. I want to do 2 more examples because why not? Or maybe just 1. I think 1's enough for us. No, I'll do 2. B. So 2 over x, take away 5 over 2x. Okay. So again, think about your common denominator. So on the left, I have 1x, whereas on the right, I have 2x's. So the lowest common denominator between them would be 2x. So if I multiply the first fraction by 2 top and bottom, now, because on top I only have 1 term, one single number, I don't need fractions. I don't need brackets, sorry. I don't need brackets around it. And then for the second fraction, the lowest common denominator is 2x, so which means I just need to multiply by 1 top and bottom. So I get 4 over 2x minus 5 over 2x. So I can put it over the same denominator, so that's 4 take away 5 over 2x. So that is just negative 1 over 2x. Can you simplify? Can you factorize? No, that's it. Leave it as your final answer. And lastly, I want to finish off with this example. So 2 over x plus 3 over x squared. So now, lowest common denominator, because you're adding fractions, right? So on the left, I have 1x. On the right, I have x squared. So technically, x squared is x times x, right? So what am I missing on the first denominator is I need an extra x there as well. So what I need to do is the lowest common denominator for this example would be x squared. So I need to multiply by x on the bottom and the top, because what you do to the bottom, you got to do to the top as well to make it all balanced. And then for the second fraction, I just go multiply by 1, top and bottom. So I get 2x over x squared, because x times x is x squared. 3 times 1 is 3. X squared times 1 is x squared. The common denominator of x squared. So I can put it all over one common denominator. And then I have 2x plus 3. Now you ask yourself, can I factorize? Can I simplify? The answer is no. Now please, remember last time when we talked about simplifying algebraic fraction, please do not go and say, oh look, I have an x on top and an x squared on bottom, so I can cancel the x's out, so I'm left with 2 plus 3 over x, which is 5 on x. Please do not do that. That is a very common mistake as well. See it many times on the exam. You can't cancel top and bottom unless they're factorized and they're products of factors, okay? Unless they're multiplying. So please do not just cross out the x and the x squared just because there's an x there. As you can cancel them out as long as it's factorized, like last time we talked about it. So key point for today is, number one, when you're adding or subtracting fractions, you must have the common denominator, ideally the lowest common denominator, just to make life easier. But if it's not the lowest, that's okay. It just means you do it a few more steps in the simplifying part at the end. Also, when you're multiplying with things that are 2 or more terms, always put brackets around it, because you're multiplying by